As a veteran of our armed services, Michael Kumin is going to present the flag to Susie. Thanks and praise for our days, 'neath the sun, 'neath the stars, 'neath the sky. As we go, this we know, God is nigh. Dear friends, we join together this afternoon to remember the life of one who filled our world with his love, his goodness, his expertise, his accomplishment. In humility and gratitude, we turn to the wisdom of our tradition for comfort, for guidance, and for understanding. Throughout the centuries, our people, when in doubt or wonderment, would say, I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Esainai Erim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esainai Erim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Varetz Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shamayim Varetz. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where will my help come? I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where will my help come? Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright. They shall have peace. For those of you for whom the 23rd Psalm is familiar, I invite you to join with me in its recitation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. When I die, remember me with a smile. If thoughts of me provoke no love, only sadness and tears, I ask that I be soon forgotten. Give what's left of me away to children and old ones who wait to die. And if you must cry, cry for your brother or sister who walks in grief beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. You can love me most by letting love live within the circle of your arms, embracing the frightened ones. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. My dear Susan and Paul, dear family, dear friends, as Susie and Paul and I sat together and spoke of Harvey, we digressed at several points into many related topics. But as I reflected later in the day on our very full, meaningful, poignant, and yet fascinating exchange, I realized that several of our digressive musings had to do with our beliefs about and even experiences with what we might identify as a spiritual, otherworldly, even extraterrestrial dimension. It is only fair to acknowledge at this moment that Paul patiently tolerated these detours, while Susie and I considered their powerful hold on the imagination and their plausibility. Again, in retrospect, I had to wonder what had prompted our excursion into the realm of the unknown and the unknowable. I believe it was our way of acknowledging the profound mystery that is life itself, and particularly the ultimate mystery of Harvey's life and his untimely, tragic death. Confronted by the sad reality before us, we shake our heads in dismay and confusion. We cannot understand, we are at a loss to explain. We are reminded once again that not one of us can fully appreciate or penetrate or navigate the heart of another. We can only stand in wonder and amazement. He was so gifted, so brainy, so athletic, so artistic. He was humble, unassuming, modest, and gentle. He was movie star handsome and never knew it. He could probably live without people, but not without animals. He was a true dog whisperer who did not hesitate to stop on the road to rescue an injured Doberman. He brought that Doberman immediately to the vet, paid thousands of dollars in medical and hospital fees, and then found the dog's owner and returned the dog to the owner. He was constantly rescuing dogs. It was part of his DNA. DNA he had acquired from his parents, Robert and Sylvia Horowitz, as had older sister Susan, known as Tootie, as she was pronounced by her grandmother on the day she was born. All of the Horowitzes loved animals. Robert and Sylvia modeled compassion for injured animals, as Robert brought home an injured bird wrapped in his coat, and Sylvia found dachshunds to love, even a paralyzed one, the brave Sammy. Having learned their lesson well, Harvey learned their lesson well. Throughout his life, he loved animals, cared for them, and rescued them again and again, even his last pet, a cat. Found Harvey by appearing at his window and refusing to go away. Harvey finally relented, brought him inside, and named him Lucky. Lucky was with Harvey until the end and beyond. Part of the mystery of the man was his seemingly limitless capacity for goodness and compassion, for excellence and accomplishment. As Tootie pointed out, when they were children, Harvey always seemed to be the goody two-shoes to her more challenging nature. There wasn't anything he couldn't do, and do well. He excelled as a student all through the Shaker schools until he decided he needed something of the pedigree of a private school and attended university school for his senior year of high school. As Paul pointed out, he made an impact, even though he was at US for only 1 year. He was a terrific football player throughout his high school career. He was also an accomplished gymnast and a track star. Harv was an artist who loved to paint. One of Tootie's favorite works is his acrylic painting of Mickey Mouse conjuring the waters in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. He was one of those rare individuals with enormous potential, with great promise, and seemingly with the personality to make all of his dreams come true. He had a passion for flying from his youth, and the focus, ambition, determination, and discipline to actually become a pilot. He understood the obstacles. He knew that he could not secure a political appointment to gain entrance into the United States Air Force Academy, and with guts, perseverance, determination, and a record of excellence at US and in the flight training program at Purdue, he managed to gain entrance to the Air Force Academy on his own. Upon graduation, in fulfillment of the terms of his government scholarship, he spent 7 years at Williams Air Force Base in Arizona. He became a jet fighter pilot, rose to the rank of captain, and not surprisingly, became an instructor pilot because he was so good. He also had the singular opportunity to fly across the Grand Canyon at the speed of sound. In the aftermath of his training, he secured his first civilian work in a uniquely Harvey fashion. It seems that for many years, the Horowitz parents, Robert and Sylvia, would go to Hawaii every year for business, but would time their trip to coincide with the PGA tournament. At about the time that Harvey was ready to look for his first job, he was with his parents in Hawaii when he realized that the president of United Airlines was right there on the beach. Those of you who know Harv's sister, Tootie, know that the Horowitz kids were and are always comfortable talking with just about anyone. Harvey engaged the president of United Airlines, and in fairly short order had his first position. He was always so proud to have his parents on board any one of his flights, and they would take such pleasure from being Captain Horowitz's parents. Of all the living beings in this world that he cared about, his family came first. He was a devoted son to his parents. He enjoyed what may have been the closest and most enduring relationship of his life with his sister Tootie, and was grateful she had found her Beshert, her intended one, in Paul Brickenden, and into her family came also Paula and Paula's daughter Jordan. He adored his nephew Scott, and when Melissa and then Teresa came into Scott's life, Harvey joyfully welcomed his great-nephew Owen, and most recently knew of Aiden's arrival into the family. And Aiden, just this past weekend, although he never met Harvey, was playing with him in an imaginary way. He was an outstanding airline pilot, meticulous, careful, thorough, hands-on. He did all of his pre-flight checking himself, and once that cabin door closed, he felt entirely responsible for every passenger entrusted to his care. As he would stop his car to rescue an animal, so would he delay takeoff if any individual was suffering or in discomfort. Upon realizing that one of his passengers was having difficulty with a colostomy bag, Harvey personally helped the gentleman to clean up and set everything right before he took off. He was not only a dog whisperer, he was a living creature whisperer. Except when it came to himself. At the heart of this open-hearted man was a mystery, a place no one else could access or understand, a secret place, a place of darkness and compulsion. We never gave up hoping that he might become a self-whisperer, that he might find the enduring strength to heal his own wounds as he so carefully, thoughtfully, and compassionately healed the wounds of any and all living beings he encountered. But he could not be rescued. We cannot pinpoint the onset of his illness. He always seemed to be able to drink more than those around him. In retrospect, we learned that he was both a safe and a solitary drinker. He never drank and flew. He never drank and drove. And there were times of sobriety. As a faithful, loyal, active member of AA, he found a community to encourage, help, and support him. He enrolled in detox programs, and he found Denise Finelli to share his days and help fill his life with companionship and caring. But as Tootie expressed, he carried demons on his back that no one else could comprehend or vanquish. Harvey sometimes succeeded in subduing them, in rising above them, but they always returned, and with a power only his AA friends could understand. His situation only intensified when he took early retirement in the aftermath of 9/11, when U.S. Air, the company for which he worked, seemed to be on the verge of going out of business. It was not helpful to him to be retired, or to be retired for so many years. It's not that he wasn't involved in valuable and important volunteer work, because he was, but he had too much free time, too much unstructured, unorganized time, and alcohol was always there to fill the void. Everyone who knew him and loved him would have done anything to cure him, or at least to arrest the illness. But Harvey knew, as does anyone in the AA program, that only the individual, him or herself, can make the decision and then turn to God for support and guidance. Harvey was always aware of and loyal to his Jewish faith. Having been born on March 17th, 1949, Tootie still remembers the green carnations that were given out at his bar mitzvah. He loved being Captain Horowitz because he knew that there were not many Air Force captains with Jewish names. As a person of integrity, of honesty and nobility, possessed of a firm sense of right and wrong, of goodness and kindness, who regularly performed acts of justice and righteousness, he embodied at one level the highest ideals and values of our tradition. Like his father, Harvey was proud to be an American and a Jew. For years, he helped to feed the hungry by volunteering at St. Malachi's, both in their food pantry and then for their annual fundraiser, Soup for the Soul. He served as an officer of his AA chapter and as an important active part of the support system of that community, as he was an instructor pilot in the service and then for the airlines, in both cases because of his superior skill, expertise, and ability. So he was a wonderful and most welcome tutor of inner-city children. Harvey clearly felt a responsibility to the most vulnerable among us. He was a tender soul with a sentimental heart. He identified with George Bailey in one of his favorite movies, It's a Wonderful Life. Not long ago, on the Scientific American blog, a theory appeared that suggested something of each of us remains after we have passed away from this earth, in the form of photons, infinitesimal particles of light we may have absorbed during our lifetime and then reflected back into the universe. It is one of the ideas I shared with Tootie and Paul that addresses the mystery of life and death. It makes me wonder at this moment if Zuzu Bailey, George and Mary's little girl in the movie, wasn't closer to the truth when she quoted her teacher, "Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings." Can we not imagine Harvey Horowitz, aloft once again, released from the oppression of this world's darker passions into the care of his better angels gathered to welcome him home? Zichrono livracha. May the memory of this living being whisperer be always for blessing. And let us say, Amen. I call now on Harvey's sister Tootie to share some reflections with us on behalf of the family.
"Does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the skin horse, for he was always faithful. "When you are real, you don't mind being hurt." "Does it happen all at once, like being wound up?" he asked, "or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said the skin horse. "You become. It takes a long time, and that's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or who have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand." That's a quote. Somebody sent it to Harv. It was on his Facebook. And I remember calling him. It was recently. It was maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I said, "Harv, that made me so sad, that quote." And he said, "Oh, no." He said, "It's real." And I didn't get it. But I remember where it was from. It's a quote from the Velveteen Rabbit, which a lot of you have probably read to your kids or nieces or nephews or whomever, or read as a child. It's from the Velveteen Rabbit, or How Toys Become Real, by Marjorie Williams, and it was written in 1922. And this is a poem that I know Harv loved, and I love it, and I think it's pretty pertinent for today, and I hope that you enjoy it. "Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air, up the long, delirious, burning blue. I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touch the face of God." Love you, Harv. You're a real mensch, kid.
O God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. Please rise. מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים אמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה עם קדושים וטהורים כזורקים מזהירים את נשמת הרשול בן ראובן וסורבלה שלח לעולמו. הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרו חיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Harvey R. Horowitz, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. The family will be receiving friends and well-wishers today until 8 o'clock, tomorrow from 2 to 4, and then from 6 to 8, and on Saturday from 5 to 8, Sunday from 1 to 4, at the Brickenden Residence, 64 Windward Way in Chagrin Falls. Should you wish to make a contribution in Harvey's memory, they suggest it be to the animal rescue operation of your or organization of your choice.